Union, yours.
Blue Note Fan Report. Aloha and mahalo. Hello, everybody out there in Blues land. Oh my goodness, it is not going away. We talked about it for an hour and a half yesterday with Chuck's cousin, and it's still not going away. So I reached out to one of the other podcasts, and I got my friend, my buddy, Mr. Josh Hyman from Locked On Blues. Josh, thank you so much for joining us on the Blue Note Fan Report.
Listen, I'm gonna say I've been doing podcasts for about 3 years now. That is by far the most enthusiastic intro I have ever received. I feel like I'm about to enter the WWE ring right now. No, but I appreciate it.
I started in 2018, right?
Yeah, about the same time.
And the game I started with, talk about what started mine, was the Calgary game where the Blues lost. They had 7-3 or something like that.
Yeah, I see.
That was the first
what
one
you're
I
talking
did.
about. I feel like that inspires some enthusiasm.
Yeah. So you and me were talking a little bit before we came on. We didn't get a lot of time. We're in different camps on this.
I think
right?
so.
We are in absolute different camps. You are in the I want Kachuk here at any cost camp. Am I right?
Well, okay. I wouldn't say at any cost. I think the Blues are in a situation right now where this next year is, barring a change, this next year is the end of their window. And I don't mean that in the sense that they're going to turn into Chicago Blackhawks where they don't contend. I mean, if with their current core, this next year is going to be the best they're going to be for the time being, because they're going to lose one of Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, or Jordan Kyrou in the next offseason.
So, you know what? I'm absolutely on board with that being the window closes after this year. On board with that. Right? But I'm not on board the Tarasenko train that everybody else is. Right? I have a source, and I can't give it out, that is very good, that leads me to believe that the Tarasenko quote-unquote trade request was never a quote-unquote trade request.
Okay, well, I mean, if that's true, then that changes things. But,
it does change things, right?
But even if he never asks to get traded, even if he wants to come back next season,
yeah,
you only have 1.5 players worth of cap space for Ryan O'Reilly, Jordan Kyrou, and Vladimir Tarasenko. So even if he wants to stay,
that's a maybe. That's a maybe. And the reason is because we don't know where the cap is going to go.
Okay,
right?
That's
Let's
fair.
say the cap jumps $4 million or
I think
$5 million.
84 is the number I've heard, which is about 3 mil.
Okay,
but,
3 mil.
Yeah.
I could see that, but you know, if the NHL, first of all, COVID in Canada has dropped, from what I understand. They're back to where they're going to have full stadiums and all this other stuff. We have full stadiums. We've learned how to live with COVID, so that may not affect. And we could see the NHL have one of their highest ever revenue years.
Yeah.
Right? There has been talk that next year the cap could take a good jump, $3 to $4 million, even though in the CBA it was only supposed to go up a minimum, and that's the important word, of $1 million. Right? Remember, that was the CBA that they did just before the bubble. Right? It would flat 1 year and then go up $2 million for 2 years, $1 million a year for 2 years at the minimum. And that was like a COVID issue.
Right.
I'm getting a little buzz in my ear. It might be I think it's my mic. Okay. Sorry about that.
All good.
So with that being said, I think there might be a little bit more money, but still, you're not going to get all three. Right? I get that.
Right.
We've had this discussion on this show, and Ashley Jones, my normal co-host, and Lance Scott, who I sent him a link. I don't know where he is. He's fighting cancer, so sometimes he can show, sometimes he can't. Right? A lot of people don't know that, but he is dealing with that. If you had to choose between O'Reilly and Tarasenko, which one would you choose? You can only keep one. Who do you take?
Um, that's tough. I mean, I think next season is going to be a big factor in that, and I think the state of Tarasenko's commitment to the team depends a lot on that. But let's say if you're saying you're going to get them at their current level for the next few years, I think you have to say Ryan O'Reilly. But I think it's a lot. I think it's really close. I think Ryan O'Reilly affects the game in more ways than Vladimir Tarasenko, and as much as Ryan O'Reilly may decline, I think the defensive aspect of his game is going to be something that sticks around. And, I think Patrice Bergeron is a perfect comparison where, I mean, his offense hasn't dropped off. He's still a tremendous player in this league. But even if he regresses a little bit, the intangibles there are so valuable. But I mean, I'm operating under the assumption that Vladimir Tarasenko has wanted out for 2 years now. And you know what? If your source is correct and he wants to stay and he's willing to resign here next season, that changes a lot. However, if you're looking at it from right now, based on what I know, you have to operate under the assumption that Vladimir Tarasenko is gone next year, no matter what you're willing to offer him. I might be wrong, and you're telling me right. I might be wrong. Well, I hope I am. Vladimir Tarasenko is my favorite player. I hope he comes back. Yep. But if he wants out, you cannot have him be your number one priority this offseason if he wants out. And that's a big if. But that's where I'm
first
at.
of all, there's one thing that everybody's forgotten in this whole mess. Of all the players that are going to be UFAs next year, one of them does not have a no-trade clause.
Mm.
You know who that is? And I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just asking because a lot of people don't know this.
Out of O'Reilly, Tarasenko, and Kyrou?
O'Reilly, Tarasenko, Kyrou, and Barbashev. And I don't think Barbashev has one.
Kyrou's
still an RFA. Kyrou's still an RFA.
Can't be Kyrou.
Yeah.
I know Tarasenko has one, so I guess it's O'Reilly.
O'Reilly does not have one.
You can't change your captain. You can't change your captain.
There's one thing. I want to bring something. Hold on. I want to bring something up.
You can't do it. I don't care.
Bring something up. I want to bring something up.
I
brought up on my show before.
After the chaos with Pietrangelo leaving, if you trade your captain again,
that you know what that was that I give Pietrangelo some credit for telling the first lie. Right, first lie wins, and people all win with the first lie that Pietrangelo wanted to be here. He didn't, because if he wanted to be here, he would have stayed. Hey, Lance, how you doing, buddy? Feeling good today?
Oh, not too bad. How are you and Josh?
Hey, I don't know if you met Josh before. This is Josh Hyman. He goes with Thomas Welch, and they do Locked On Blues podcast. I know you listen to it. You bring it up a lot on the show. I was finally able to reach him out today. I listened to their podcast on Kachuk, and now Thomas has offered to come on before, but we've just never got it together. So I do appreciate Josh coming on.
Yeah.
What is one thing that goal scorers never lose the ability to do? Score goals. It doesn't matter how old they are; they still score goals. I think in Gretzky's last year, he still scored double-digit goals. Right?
Yeah, he did.
In Hull's last real year, not when he was in Phoenix, but when he was in Detroit, I think he still scored double-digit goals. Still had the ability to score goals. That doesn't diminish. They always have that ability to score goals. We've talked about it on this show. Between Tarasenko and O'Reilly, we would rather have Tarasenko because he's always going to score goals. He's going to do those things. And I think Tarasenko has become a very, very good two-way player that's not getting credit for it.
Yeah, and like I brought up in the last show, I love Ryan O'Reilly and his work ethic and what he brings to the team as a captain and, just a positive guy. Normally the first guy on the ice, the last guy off the ice. I know that's a cliche to some people, but it's true. He cares about the city. He likes the city. He loves the team, loves the fans. But I think O'Reilly is more like a Steen type player. I think O'Reilly is the guy that can give you some goals like Steen would give you 20 plus goals. But those type of guys that play the two-way game and just have so much energy from the drop of the puck to the end of the game, those guys start falling apart a little bit younger. I mean, when the Blues signed Steen to 6 years, I told everybody it should have been 3 to 4 years because he plays so hard and up and down the ice that he's going to wear out and he's going to start declining pretty quick and get injured. And that's exactly what happened. And I don't think Armstrong is going to make that mistake with O'Reilly. But I'm with Guy. If somebody gave me a choice, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, and said we can pay O'Reilly 8.5 for 6 years, or we can pay Tarasenko 8.5 for 6 years, I'm going with Tarasenko. But if somebody came to me and said, O'Reilly wants 5, we can sign him for 4 years for $5 million a year, and we can go after somebody else instead of paying Tarasenko the other 3.5, I would say O'Reilly. But I think both of them are going to get very close in the AAVs in their contracts. Might be a little bit off, but they're both about the same age. But I love Tarasenko. I just don't think he's going to be here once the end of the season is here. I think when the trade deadline comes, and I hate to see it, I really do, because I think he's good for the city. He loves the city just like Ryan does. But there comes a time when you've got to go, okay, can we go get somebody younger? Plus we got to pay Kyrou. Kyrou's going to make $7 million or so from what I estimate. He's not going to make $8 million because we all know centers make more money than wingers do. And Thomas got the 8.1. I know a lot of people think Kyrou's going to get 8.1, but I just don't see it. So you've got him at 7. You've got Thomas at 8. You're going to have a few other guys come due that you're going to lose. You're probably going to lose Barbashev. So you've got to have some money left over to go out and fill those needs in the team and hope guys like Prnovich on defense show up and guys like Mikko Mikola start growing and become the defenseman that we think they can be. And then some of these younger guys come up like Neighbors, Bolduc, so on and so forth. People don't understand. They're all goo gaga and they wear it on their heart wanting Tkachuk because his dad played here and he's from here. That's great. But at the end of the day, it means crap to me because it's all about production. It's all about the AAV. What does that contract do to this team? And in my mind, if the Blues pay Matthew Tkachuk 10, 11 million, 3-4 years down the road, it hurts this team. It deeply hurts this team.
I mean, I think you make a lot of good points. And to be honest, a lot of it goes exactly against what I've been saying on the podcast, which I love. I love that because look, the fan base is going to be split on everything no matter what. And, there's going to be half the people that are in one boat, half the people in the other boat. And I think one of the biggest ifs right now is we're operating under the assumption that Vladimir Tarasenko hasn't been requesting a trade for the last 2 years, which there's never been anything too solid. I've said it a lot on my show that Tommy and I talked about the Tarasenko trade request on probably 20 podcasts.
That's what we have too. And right. And our take is that this Guy and I both know people inside the Blues. And I was told basically the same thing Guy did. Tarasenko went in at the end of that season when he first started playing again because he was hurt. He was frustrated that they were on to him. And, everybody says he wasn't producing. So he went to Berube and Armstrong and said, listen, there's some things that I just get the feeling are going on here. I want to be here, but if you guys don't want me to be here, I'll open myself up to a trade and give you a 10-game trade list. Well, then 3 days later, a certain person writes an article in the town saying Tarasenko's demanded a trade, and that's not fully what happened.
Right, and I think that's the thing that I kind of brought up towards the end. It's like, well, we're kind of basing all these talks on 3 tweets in an Athletic article. It could be true, it couldn't be true, but
that has never been confirmed or denied.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's never been. You always bring it up, and he will say, "Well, they've never denied it. They never confirmed it either."
Right.
So
what about the recent? The only reason why I bring that up is I was in your guys' camp, and I was like, "All right, Tarasenko wants to be here," and then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was Pierre LeBrun, someone big.
No, Frank Cervelli.
Frank Cervelli.
Yeah, sorry. Frank Cervelli. Just casually slipped it in a tweet hey, by the way, that's still valid. And that's kind of when it got the alarm sounding in my mind. Okay, it's one thing for a local beat writer. Nothing against our beat writers. I think they're great. But it's one thing for one of them to say something. But when someone like Frank Cervelli tweets it, you're like, oh, wow, there might be some merit to that. So I'm not – if it's up to me, keep Tarasenko. Hang his number in the rafters. But if he wants out, you got to make the most of it.
And I think a lot of people are still basing it on what that article said and what came about after that article, because even Rutherford today, when he gave that list of teams that he said that Tarasenko would go to, he admitted about 2 hours after that, well, I haven't confirmed that now, but those are some of the teams that were on his list a year and a half, 2 years ago. Well, you can't report it then that way. That was a year and a half, 2 years ago. I do know some of the teams he won't go to, and one of them is the Calgary Flames. He does not really want to play in Canada. He really has no interest, just like Scandella. Scandella's made it known, I'll go anywhere, but I'm not playing in Canada.
I feel like regardless of how you feel about Tarasenko or O'Reilly, I don't think either of those guys are going in a Kachuk trade. So, like,
no,
there's a scenario where you can somehow trade for Matthew Kachuk without giving up either of those guys. It would be more of a selling the farm. You got to clear up cap somehow.
But you also you sell the farm. But what people aren't realizing, Josh, and I think this is what Guy's going to say, it's all great. If they could get him for nothing and bring him in at $8.5-9 million, I would have no problem with it. None at all. But I'd have a problem with it this year because right now they have no money. And even if they gave up all prospects and even Kyrou, who makes 2.5, that still leaves them $7 million without having the money to sign Kachuk. So people that are using their heart, tell me where the Blues are going to get that money from.
Okay, well, here's the trade. And first of all, it's the only trade that's going to work. You have to trade either Krug, Parayko, or and I'm blanking out on the other defenseman that's making 6.5. Well, you have to trade one of those three. And Krug has a no trade clause.
Right. Well, Falk ain't going and Parayko ain't going. I can guarantee.
Right. Well, that. Falk has already said. I think Falk's the one that said that I don't like playing in Canada. Right. And then Scandella has a 17 no trade list. And I know those things never come out. But hold on, I'm trying to
go ahead. I mean, Josh, you see a lot of things. Guy and I see a lot of things. People are getting so ahead of themselves right now to where they're already saying, "Oh, Matthew's coming for sure." And then in 2-3 years from now, Brady's already said he's coming. He wants to be traded to the and people are just getting it's like the whole Soto thing to the Cardinals. There's no way the DeWitts or John Mozeliak is gonna pay a guy for 15 years, $440 million, but everybody says it's gonna happen.
Look, I mean, I think Matthew Tkachuk's a special player, and that's what it comes down to. And it comes down to the point where if you can have two guys that can spend the next 8 years together on a line playing at one of the highest levels in the NHL, you kind of are willing to lose in a trade for that. And obviously from a Blues standpoint, it would come with some hurt, but in a scenario where Vladimir Tarasenko wants out, and in a scenario where you can find a separate trade partner for him or Torrey Krug, I think it makes sense. If you have the cap space, if you can trade Torrey Krug or Vladimir Tarasenko in a way that makes sense, not because you want Matthew Tkachuk, but because it makes sense, then all of a sudden you got $7.5 million sitting around, the exact amount of money you need for Matthew Tkachuk, then you consider it.
Yeah, but he's not taking $7.5 million. I think you know that, Joe.
Well, but $7.5 million in addition to the $2 million that they have now. Like if they were to trade Krug or Tarasenko, and all of a sudden they have an extra $7.5 million.
They don't have $2 million right now.
Yeah, they got less than that right
now.
They're 100,000 over the cap with guys still to sign.
Sport Track shows them at -125. Cap friendly shows them at 625,000 plus.
And that's just because the way they put them.
Then you trade Barbashev.
Right. Exactly. But there's a lot of dominoes that need to fall. But I would be against those dominoes falling. Let's just say that.
Yeah. No, for me, you brought up a really good point on your podcast, and I've never heard this before. And you said someone said it on Twitter that bringing in Tkachuk would be better defensively than anybody we could have brought in other than like Victor Hedman.
Yep. 100% agree with that. Unless you're getting a number one defenseman, Matthew Tkachuk, because you're locked into this four right now. You're locked into Falk, Parayko, Krug,
Scandella.
Yeah,
whatever. You're locked into your top four. Letty. You're locked into those guys.
Letty.
You're locked into those guys. So barring a drastic change, barring getting rid of Krug, those are your top four defensemen. What's the best way to improve your defenseman without altering your top four? Bring in one of the top 5 defensive wingers in the game.
Come on, Josh. He takes terrible penalties. The people in Calgary that I know up there are onto him all the time because he tries to play defense and then he gets too rough and he takes stupid penalties. And one thing that worries me, Josh, not a lot of people are bringing up. How many of these so-called good scorers in juniors at the beginning of their NHL career, big-time players that are supposed to be good in the NHL, it takes him years under Berube's system because he stresses defense, then offense. I honestly think if Matthew Tkachuk comes here, he's not a 100-point guy in Berube's system.
Probably not.
Because he's going to have to play defense,
but he's good at that.
I just don't think he is. I don't think he's top 5 winger in defense.
Maybe not top 5. I hate to bring up advanced stats because
you can bring it up, but I hate those.
But okay,
it's a good point. It's a good point. He can play defensively. If he would be one of the better defensive wingers on the Blues,
the best,
with maybe a couple of exceptions, right?
You would be the best defensive winger on the Blues.
I don't know. I think
O'Reilly's better.
Really good run for his money.
He's a center.
Winger.
Winger.
You
would be the best defensive winger.
I think when Shin's not hurt, Shin's pretty good defensively.
I think that's the same argument as Tkachuk, takes too many penalties, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know. 100-point guys don't grow on trees. They don't.
Chuck's gonna win. Gonna win the Selkie. Chuck's gonna win the Selkie and run for mayor of St. Louis.
That's true. He told me actually.
Right. That's Tyler Stewart. That's Tyler Stewart, the Blues former.
Stewie. What's up, Stewie?
The former E-Bug. Now I'm going to bring Stewie back on. Josh could only stay with us for the first half hour, right? Are you going to be able to stay a little? If you only stay the first half hour?
I mean, I'm not going to cut you off, but yeah, 10:30ish or 9:30ish, I should say.
Okay, well, if you got to go at 9:30, that's fine. And then I'll bring Stewie in, and we'll talk some more about this. I had about a 10 to 20 minute conversation 2 different times with both Brady and Matt last year in St. Louis. From my feeling, I just don't get this solid feeling that Matt wants to play in St. Louis, right? And I want to bring up something that hasn't been brought up yet. It was something that Pat Maroon brought up when he left, and one of the things that he had a huge issue with, he said it was so hard playing at home due to the expectations. Now it's great we won the cup, but until that point, expectations for me, I felt like I could never live up to them. You know, and now Matt, that's Maroon. Maroon was a journeyman, is a journeyman. You're talking about a guy that's got Hall of Fame aspirations. What are the expectations going to be for him, and is he ever going to be able to live up to them?
Is he going to be able to live up to his dad? You know, that's my question.
Look,
see, there's Josh. I get where Josh. I get
where Josh is going too. There's so many variables here.
That's why this show's so great tonight. We're getting both opinions. I can see it in Josh's eyes. He's getting things he's never thought about before, and we're getting the same thing.
Right. You're absolutely
and
right.
it makes sense on both sides.
Yeah,
am I right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Those are all valid points. But I mean, I think from a pure hockey perspective, I think the way that Matthew Tkachuk plays, and I've always thought that Calgary plays close to the most similar game to the St. Louis Blues in the NHL. And that's why over the last, ever since Craig Berube took over, playing the Calgary Flames has always pissed me off because they play so similar to us that it's like looking in the mirror, and every game between us and them is always so close. And I think because of that I think Tkachuk would thrive in the situation. When you said that he wouldn't be a 100-point scorer, I think you're absolutely right. However, when Stewie says he could win the Selkie, I don't know if he wins the Selkie, but I think if he comes here and comes to the Blues, his defensive game would be appreciated miles beyond what it's been in Calgary. And he's already recognized as a top defensive player. And look at what O'Reilly did in the year that we won the Stanley Cup. He had a Twitter lengthwise picture full of trophies that he won. And I think, honestly, there could be a day where Matthew Tkachuk does the same thing if he comes here and plays for the St. Louis Blues for the next 8 years.
I'm not going to deny that. And my other issue, and the thing that almost nobody talks about, how much do you have to give up? Right? I'm concerned about that, and I brought this up to you at the very beginning. This is a team that was a goalie away from winning the Stanley Cup this year. Yes, I said that. I think that if they beat Colorado, they're winning the Cup.
I think they get to the Cup final. I think Tampa's a tough matchup.
I think Tampa was too tired. Tampa was beat up and tired by the time the finals came in. They weren't the same team. I mean, they had some injuries.
They played 4 seasons of hockey in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, if the Tampa from last year would have played the Avs this year, it would have either went 7 or Tampa would have won it. They're worn out. I mean, even Maroon said that, and Stamkos has said it a few times, that they were just gassed by the time that the finals came around. They didn't have any, just kind of like the Blues did in 2015, 2016. Dallas and the Chicago series were tough on them. They get to San Jose. San Jose wins it, a short series, and the Blues said it. Tarasenko said it. We were wore out, and I just think Tampa was wore out. They had the talent. The Rangers wore them out. They had to come back in that series after losing the first 2. I think Tampa wins it if they hadn't played in the Stanley Cups these last several years. That's a lot of hockey. That's a ton of hockey to play.
I don't know if you can rely on Jordan Binnington to steal the next 3 games of that series. I mean, as good as he was, I think Colorado was the best team in the NHL this year, and Colorado was the better team in that series. I think Colorado versus St. Louis is closer than Colorado versus Tampa, but I think the better team won. I've said it before. I think if Jordan Binnington's healthy, I think the Blues win that series, but you needed a perfect storm for that. I mean, yeah, you're definitely catching me off guard.
Gosh, think about this. Think about this before you have to go. Game 1, the St. Louis Blues played the worst game they played all season. That was by and far the worst game I've seen that team play all season. And they went to overtime and almost won that game. One shot, one little shot just trickles down. If they could have got a shot, I think they went 11-0. But if they could have gotten a shot off, one shot off, that's all it would have took to win that game. In game 3, when you lose Binnington, you're leading that game. You're leading that game, right? If they would have done that right, what should have happened after that hit, Kadri should have gotten a 5-minute game misconduct, because those teams, and this is my issue, and I've said it time and time again, both teams were warned prior at the second period, start of the second period of game 2 and the beginning of game 3 about running into the goalies. They were absolutely warned about it. And he never puts his skates in a stopping position, and he shifts his weight to fall on Binnington. He absolutely should have gotten a 5-minute game misconduct and been out of the game, and then that game changes around. Or if it doesn't happen at all, we're leading that game. Who's to say that we don't can win that game and go up 2-1 going into game 4, and the Kadri stuff doesn't even happen? That's the key right there. That's the key right there.
The thing is, I don't disagree with any of those points. The only thing is, I think that only extends as far as next season. I think losing one of Jordan Kyrou, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko is inevitable. But what if you could lose one of them, maybe even 2 of them, and replace them with Matthew Tkachuk? I'm looking at the next 7 years, and that's where I come in. It's like they could absolutely win the Stanley Cup next year if they do not trade for Matthew Tkachuk. That is a fact. If Jordan Binnington plays like he played when they won the Stanley Cup in previous years, and Nick Leddy takes what he learned in his time with the St. Louis Blues and is able to form a solid top 4, the St. Louis Blues could win a Stanley Cup next year. However, if they don't win a Stanley Cup next year, if they have a similar year to this year, and then all of a sudden next offseason you have a cap crunch and one of those guys leaves, you're looking at a really precarious situation where you have no direction, where you have lost one of your core players and haven't added anyone, and all you have done has gotten worse, and you have missed your window to add a player that would change the trajectory of your franchise. And maybe that's a bit of a pessimistic approach, but that's my worry, is that we're going to be sitting here a year from now saying, where the heck do the Blues go from here?
Yeah, and my concern is that we're going to be sitting here in 3 years from now, and we've given away Neighbors or Bolduc or one of those guys, and they've turned out to be a great player on a low contract that the team could have controlled for years. And then all of a sudden, yeah, we've got Thomas. Yeah, we've got Tkachuk. Where's all our young players coming up to make up some of that low money that these teams need? Yeah. That's what really concerns me. I mean, Doug Armstrong has said this before without saying the Maple Leafs. He has said, if you want to win the cup, you cannot have 3 or 4 players making over $30 million on your roster combined with the 3. And the Blues cannot do that. And it's just, I like Tkachuk. But if they don't have to give up anything, if maybe some draft picks, I'm all for it. But if they got to give up Bolduc and Kyrou and some of their other bigger prospects, I'm not for it, because you need those guys to have to be in control of those contracts, because you're no longer in control of the top end guys' contracts. You've already made that. And especially if, let's say, the economy sucks again, or the COVID comes back again, and then all of a sudden they start losing more revenue, that cap is not going to be the 90 million people say it's going to be in 3-4 years. It's going to be 87.
Then how do you pay Bolduc and Neighbors? Like, I feel like all you're doing, like,
in 3 years you're still in control of them. In 3 years you're still in control of Bolduc and Neighbors. They're restricted free agents.
Yeah, but if you bring in Matthew Tkachuk for the next 5 years, he is probably your best player. When will Zach Bolduc or Jake Neighbors or any of those guys be your best player? And that's nothing against them. They could very well be your second, your third best player. That's nothing against them. But when will those guys turn into Matthew Tkachuk? Probably never. And that's, again, nothing against them. Matthew Tkachuk is an extreme anomaly in this league. All I'm saying is you have the chance to bring in your guy to wear the C, wear the A after Ryan O'Reilly leaves. You don't get that opportunity every often. You get it when you have the number 1 pick in the draft, or when a guy like Matthew Tkachuk becomes available and traded. That's the only time you have to add a player of his caliber.
No, I get you. I'm not completely out of the Tkachuk. I don't mind if we're going to get Tkachuk, great. But getting in a manner that's not going to hurt the franchise down the road. Let's make, and the money's got to work. That's the other thing. That's the thing that everyone looks at. Where's the money, right? Where's the money? And the Tarasenko, and I'm still on this, and I say this, and anybody who's watched this show, and if you're new, if you're watching because Josh joined and from his podcast, thank you so much for joining us. I've got 9 Tarasenko jerseys. Okay, so I have my love for Tarasenko. I've got this feeling that he's the Brett Hull of this generation. Right. And I don't think that the Blues want to make the mistake that they made with Brett Hull. And I don't think he's making the same mistakes that Brett Hull made. Right. You look at what Tarasenko does every single time that he addresses the media at the arena. What's the first thing that comes out of his mouth?
I love the fans.
Fans. Thank you, fans. I hear you.
All right. Here's a question. Do you think Matthew Tkachuk is or will be better than Vladimir Tarasenko at any point in his career?
Yes. He has the potential, barring injury, obviously. Knock on wood. Yes, he does have the potential to be much better.
So, I mean, nothing against Vladimir Tarasenko, but what if everything you're saying has turned into, oh, now you got Matthew Tkachuk as that guy. Now you have Matthew Tkachuk as the guy when you're, saying, oh, he's going to be the next jersey retirement.
I get it. Hey, Tyler, welcome, man. I know Josh is probably going to have to drop out here soon, so that's why I'm bringing you on.
I got
'cause we're
time.
having
I got like 10, 15 minutes. I'm good.
Josh
Okay.
has time. Josh has time because I came in here. That's why.
I got time.
He's like,
I
oh
will
no,
do it.
he's back. I've got to spend some more time here.
Can I give my take real quick?
Give it to us, bud. Give it to us.
Okay.
Yeah, well, listen.
My opinion is we're going to a new core. Oh, there's Tyson. We're going to a new core. So, like, you have the Kachuk, the Thomas. I guess you want to go on the back end. You want to go Falker, and then you got Parayko, and I guess Krug is still here. That's the problem. Is like it's really hard to speculate this thing if you get Kachuk because I don't know what big contract's moving out. It's going to be one of O'Reilly, Krug, Tarasenko. I don't think Parayko would move. I know people like hate Parayko here, but they got to get a clue too.
Yeah, he was hurt. He was hurt last year. He wasn't the same player.
Yeah.
He's never been the same since he hasn't had a normal D partner. And I know people in St. Louis like love Nick Leddy. I'm not a huge Nick Leddy fan. It's not anything. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's as big. I don't think he's as good as everyone acts like. Just because, I mean, our team's really good defensively in general. So it's like I feel like he was very protected. I guess you want to say with like
he's a $3 to $4 million defenseman. That's what he is.
Right.
He's nothing more than that.
Like that he's in the top 4. I still think you're missing a top 4 defenseman to pair with Parayko, and I know that's like it's hard to get those. You can't, they don't grow on trees. Obviously, like in an ideal world, like a Chikrin, a Provorov, a Sanheim, I don't know, like one of those would be better. But it is what it is. But I definitely think that that's like your new core with the Kachuk, and I mean I think if Kachuk does come here and say O'Reilly does leave or whatever, I think your next captain will either be Kachuk or it'll be Jen.
No, you don't think Tomer would be a C?
As much as I love Tomer and he's like one of my closest friends, like on the team still, he's just not.
He's not that type of guy right now.
He doesn't. It's just stuff like it's stuff with like handling. I'm not saying he handles the media badly. I just don't know if he's like.
Who is this? I didn't hear who he said. Thomas. Okay.
Like I love Tomer. Like, and it's just like he's kind of like a space cadet a little bit, and that's not like. I'm not trying.
Well, I'm going to ask you.
I get that.
I'm going to ask you this. A lot of people that don't know him, I've had people that know him tell me he's kind of a kid, but he's kind of a kid in a man's body. He's still a little bit of a kid.
Yeah, he's
only like 24,
22, 23, 24. Yeah. But yeah, like he's just I don't know. He's just kind of a goofball. So it's like I can't take him.
You can't take him seriously.
Yeah, maybe it's just because I'm like buddies. Like I don't know. But then again, like Petro was like he was like viewed as like a good captain because he won the cup. But it's like the thing about the captain stuff is like no one's in the room, not even me. Even though I've like been in the room stations, like I wasn't. You're not in the room in the room. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference. And like O'Reilly, from what I hear, like they love him. Shen, same thing. You can kind of just tell the guys that are, captain material. And I think from what I've heard, like out of Calgary, like I mean Kachuk, like. Keith Kachuk could have been a captain of the Blues, honestly, over the years. I mean, there's nothing wrong with wearing an A either. This whole thing, all I'm going to say about this is I agree with Josh. I'm all about getting Kachuk. Just because I look at it, whether the Tarasenko stuff is true or not, like, he's not extended. O'Reilly's not extended. And if Vladdy wanted to be here right now, like, for the foreseeable future, why would we not sign him to an extension?
Well, I was told, and Guy says something different, but I was told with my sources that they have been talking to O'Reilly for an extension and that they have not. Have not been talking to Tarasenko.
Yeah, I meant Vladdy. I'm just saying, like, but these guys aren't extended, right? So it's like, like as much as I love like what Vladdy's done and what O'Reilly's done, it's like until they should be extended right now if they're a part of your future. And if O'Reilly is and he gets extended in a few weeks, okay, we'll see it. But I mean, I have no clue, but my thing is like I think you're shifting to a new core. Like I don't think the Blues win the Stanley Cup next year, and I'm not saying that because like I heard what you guys were saying about how they were like Benner away from winning. Like I'm like kind of with Josh there because I still think Colorado was the better team. Like, and I hate to say it because I cannot stand the media slobbering in Colorado, but
yeah, you should have heard me talk about that.
I hate to say, I mean, it's all like hypothetical hindsight 2020 because I was at the game 3 when Benner got hurt and the crowd just the life went out of the building and I don't know, it was really odd, like, but you just don't know how the rest of the series plays out because I look at it like I'm also like Colorado played unbelievable in game 1 and Benner played unbelievable where I mean
Colorado went 16-4.
Yeah.
16-4.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, and like
this is one of the best teams we've ever seen in
sure.
my lifetime.
No, and they had like a great run too. I mean, like think about it. They played a backup goalie in Nashville, or a third string goalie who was literally in rehab the year before, wasn't even playing hockey. And then you had Husso hop in, and I mean, God love Billy, but his mental capacity is not Binner's in terms of like, you know, playoff pressure. And Mike Smith's a nut job, and yeah, like Vasilevsky can only do so much, and the Lightning, like Lance said, the Lightning were dead. I mean, like, I like to see the Lightning healthy and play them. I think they would have beat.
I think they would have too.
I think if the Lightning just had Braden Point healthy, they would have won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean they had half the roster in the locker room at any point.
But my thing is, I think it's worth it because he's 23. If he was 28, I would be way more like, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is, you know, he's going to be 28, sign him for 8. Like, I'm not on board. The fact he's 23 and he's hitting.
Kachuk?
Yeah, like, that's
24. I don't want to be that guy.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
24.
Like, it's not like you're getting, like, a 29-year-old, like, or even 30-year-old. I mean, this is, like, you're getting the best, like he would be our best player. Like, I love Tomer and stuff, but, like, he just does so many things that, like, you know, I'm not even like a slobbering like St. Louis person. It's like, oh my God, he's the greatest player because he's from St. Louis. Like, no, I literally I think he is that good. Like he really is. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think it's from what I've heard, and this is like from like good sources. From what I've heard, he only wants to come here, and it's either going to be now in a trade or it's going to be next summer. So it's not.
Don't tell me these things, Stewie.
Well, you know, the thing is if he's coming here next summer, because you know, I talked about this yesterday, and Tyson, I don't know, can you hear me, bud?
Yeah, Guy, I can hear you.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you out, but I talked about this yesterday. If he's coming to St. Louis, if he wants to come here that bad, come here at a discount for 4 years. Don't don't buy it all now.
It doesn't happen.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Because what happens if he tears his ACL and like I mean, those guys are so. I'm not trying to be like put like words in it, but they're greedy. I mean, they're like
okay. Yeah, and he's made $65 million already. What's another $20 million?
When has that ever happened? When has that ever happened?
I know. I get that. It doesn't mean just because it's out there doesn't mean it's not what should happen.
Yeah, and he's 25 years old, guys. He was born in 97. He'll be 25 this year.
Yeah. No, and like, let's be honest. Like this whole Gaudreau, like I love Columbus. I'm so excited to go. Yeah, okay, that's fine. They also were the biggest offer in America.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think the national, or I don't think the big, like, you know, the story has fully come out, but like, you know, he got offered, like, I think it was like a couple more, I want to say it was like almost $1 million more a year if you do taxes and everything than it would have been in New Jersey. So, I don't know. I just think like the Kachuk thing is a no-brainer from my standpoint, just because, like I said, like Vladdy, if he wanted to be here, he would have been like adamant, I want to sign an extension. All right. Like there's been nothing there. And I don't think he wants to be here. I don't think he's going to fulfill his contract and everything. I don't think he's going to like throw a fit and pout or anything, but I mean, I think he's going to sign.
God, this isn't the NBA, huh?
Yeah,
right.
God.
I think he's going to sign in like Florida next year, if I had to guess, or something like that. Because I think he's
New York.
Yeah, Florida, New York,
Cali.
and yeah, one of those. Like I think it's Florida, New York, just because of like the Panarin connection, or like, and obviously they spend their summers, like those Russians love South Beach, so it's like,
yeah, well, it's where he's at right now.
Did you see the report about his wife wanting to pursue her modeling career? And that's why he wants to be in Cali.
Yeah, it's I don't the whole modeling thing. I just laugh. I mean, it's whatever, but it's like that's the thing with Panarin. Remember, they were like, oh, his wife wants to like go be a model or something too. Like,
now he's in the Big Apple, New York City.
Yeah.
Well, his wife has more Instagram followers than he does. Right. That's for sure.
Well,
his wife has more Instagram followers than I do. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my thing with the O'Reilly thing is that's the weird one for me. Like the Vladdy thing, I'm kind of like whatever about, because like what Josh said earlier, like O'Reilly just does so many things where like Vladdy only impacts the game one way. He scores, and if he doesn't score,
he's not doing much.
See, I disagree with that. I think that everyone only looks at what he does when he scores, and they don't look. I saw so many passes he made last year. I saw him in the corners last year. I saw him on the blue line last year. The biggest negative that I saw with Tarasenko was his passes coming out of zone. That was my only negative. Other than that, I thought that he was and should have gotten Selke votes. And if you look at him, he had some good defensive numbers for a quote-unquote offensive guy, and he was a plus player. I think it was a +6.
That's a hot take on the Selke, but
Yeah.
I know that's your boy, guys. So I'm not gonna, and I don't dislike Vladdy, but it's just I'm just saying. I look at things like I look at St. Louis Blues players, and that's how I view like what works here. And with Craig Berube, look at his favorite guys he goes to. It's the O'Reillys, it's the Shens, look at Jake Neighbors, how much they slobbered over him for 9 games last year, and he barely played. Like, that's his type of guys. Like and Tkachuk is exactly what Berube loves. And Thomas is a work in progress because he's trying to get him to be more 200-foot game. He cannot stand Kyrou from what it doesn't take rocket scientists. When you don't see Kyrou on the ice for 17 minutes in the third period, or you don't see him get the puck out on the wall, you know why. It's like, so that's kind of my thing. And like I said, I think it's evident that the 4 things that make me think that this stuff's all like with Tkachuk is having the 7 defensemen under one-way deals. That's really weird to me. No extension to O'Reilly. No extension to Kyrou after his buddy Tomer got signed for 8 years. I think that's weird. And I just feel like this roster just feels weird. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem, it's not their opening night roster. That's why I feel like something.
You sound like Brian Windhorst right now.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And
what's going on in St. Louis?
I feel like Doug's so airtight. It's like, we'll never know. You'll never know, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on. So that's the problem. It's like, as much as I have like people that tell me stuff, like, I only trust like a few people. And like, Jeremy Rutherford today put out the article with Haley, whatever her face is, from Calgary, and they did like destinations, and then he backtracked on 101 ESPN, and it wasn't even the destinations. Like, he's like,
yeah.
it was just what did he say? It was just, we came up with those on our own. And I'm like, and everyone freaked out in St. Louis, like, you know what I mean, about the places. Like, I literally,
including me.
I heard that those 5 destinations were not the 5 places.
They weren't. And like, and that's the thing that I don't get with Calgary. It's like, so if he doesn't come here, like, where is he going to go? Like, I don't understand it, because if he doesn't want to sign an 8-year deal and he wants to come here next summer, what team is going to want to trade for him for a year? Unless you're like your Colorado.
Let's talk to Tyson about that. Let's talk to the guy that knows him best. Tyson, what's your opinion on this? Or you guys aren't screwing me, right? He is Maddie's cousin.
Yeah, I'm Maddie's cousin. So like I said, him and Brady and even Robert, Thomas, they were up in Boston a couple of weeks ago just hanging out. Another guy who was with them too, and this is a guy, I'll be honest, I haven't heard anything and I didn't talk to him much about it, but he was skating with them as well, was Noah Hannafin. Now Noah and Matt are really, really, really good friends. Like, they've been in Calgary together their whole career. Well, Noah, like for the last couple of years or whatever. I could see it would be tough. Like, I feel like, Matty wants to be in St. Louis. His heart's there. Like, that's, where he grew up. That's where he sees himself. Obviously likes the direction of the team. Big friends with Robert and that big extension. So, but what about like Noah Hannafin possibly joining with him? It'd be a big deal, and you guys would have to move a lot of cap, but I don't know, man. I could just see that possibly being a scenario, because you guys need defensemen. Like, you need a left D. He's another American guy who's going to want out of Calgary as well, just like Johnny and just like Maddie.
Yeah, he's gone in 2 years too, I bet. There's no way.
Right. Yeah, he's only got 2 years left on his deal, and he doesn't make a ton of money. So, like, I don't know.
It's not bad. It's just that I'm trying to look at this, and the thing I brought up yesterday, and I did, and Josh hasn't heard this. When did this come out? You look at when this came out. It comes out in late July, early August. What came out late July, early August of last year? The Tarasenko trade stuff, right? It to me almost feels as if it's no one's getting our clicks on our website, and we're a subscription site. We need the subscription. Let's write something that's going to get subscriptions. That's what it feels like to me. And look, it's working. That's all we're talking about.
Right.
You know, and that's not. I'm not trying to be a jackass here, but that's what it feels like. That's what some of this feels like. And so with Vladdy, the article that was in by Jim Thomas in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the quote from Armstrong. This was the best quote I think I've heard yet about the Vladdy stuff. I'm not going down that rabbit hole again. What I mean, that told me a lot. That honestly told me a lot.
But at the time, did he know Kachuk was going to be available? That's the thing.
And that's possible.
That's the problem. Is like everything's like, I think, because that was like before Gaudreau even signed with because I heard a lot of people in the NHL, which I didn't believe, but I heard a lot of people thought Gaudreau was going back to Calgary for sure because of the money. Like it was obviously like, you know, a bigger offer, but I mean, then he ended up not going, you know what I'm saying? But I wonder if that's part of it too, is everyone thought, okay, there's no way Kachuk will actually leave Calgary and leave Gaudreau. Because I mean, that was the best line in hockey last year.
Yeah, no, I can see it. It's tough for me right now, guys. It really is tough for me to take this all in and go, how does it work? How does it work in a way that, how is it not a Garth Butcher deal?
I don't think you can compare Garth Butcher and his talent at the time to Matthew Tkachuk, because Butcher was a decent, good, big physical defenseman. Was he one of the top 10 defensemen in the league? No, I don't even. In my mind,
yeah, but we traded our whole second scoring line to get him, and it took us nowhere.
I know, and I still say to this day, if that trade hadn't been made, the Blues win the cup that year. I still say that to this day. But see, that's my concern. I love Matthew Tkachuk. From the people that I know that know him a little bit, he's a great guy. Just like he said, he's a very nice guy. He's down to earth. He does love the city, and I think it would be nice to get him. But my whole point on Twitter and Facebook and everybody that sends me emails, and I'm going to be making a new podcast shortly, is what does it cost you? How does it affect you 3 years down the road? I'm fine with a year or two. I'm fine, up to 3 or 4 years down the road. And no, guys and juniors, you really can't predict it. Everybody thought Ty Ratty, besides me and about 50 other people, thought he was going to be the next big goal scorer. He was a lifetime AHL guy, bounced around the NHL, played a little bit. He never was the guy they thought that would be. You can tell a little bit more by the AHL, but the guys that have played know this. Huge difference between the juniors and the AHL, and the game speed and the talent. There's a huge difference between the AHL and the NHL. So yeah, it's a crapshoot with these guys. But it's hard to look at it and go, we're going to give up what could be a very bright future to get this guy who's going to be good, but at what cost 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road? How are we going to fill those spots when we've given up draft picks and we're not going to have top draft picks to fill those spots? That's the only thing that concerns me about this whole deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing with like the Bulldog hype, I tell people to relax because he's in the QMJHL. Everyone puts up points in the QMJHL. Dmitry Yashkin had 99 points.
Yeah, he had 100 points almost.
Yeah, and Barbashev had like a bunch. Which Barbie, if you look at Barbie, besides last year, I mean, he's been completely opposite of what he was in juniors because he had to do something that he didn't probably want to do to stay in the NHL, which is run around and hit like a maniac. And that's just how guys have to stick. I mean, a lot of the guys in the QMJHL put up ridiculous points, but even in the OHL and WHL it happens too. But I never get like with kind of with the Cardinals, Lance. Like I'm like the same way with the Cardinals prospects because people are always like, oh, I can't trade this guy. For my whole life or like the last 10 years being a Cardinals fan, it's like how many times do you hear you can't trade Colton Long, you can't trade Miller, you can't trade all these prospects, and then they're all just above average or average big league players, just like. And I'm not like I just don't think like any of these guys are like kind of what Josh said earlier. They're never going to amount to Kachuk. And there's not
a single player that is a member of the St. Louis Blues playing or prospect that will be as good as Matthew Tkachuk.
Like, and listen. If I'm wrong, then you can like rub it in my face for the next 10 years. Like I don't even care. I've watched enough hockey, and like here's the thing. The good thing about Tkachuk is this is like his 5th or 6th year in the league. So it's like you have a good sample size. Yeah, it's like you have a good sample size. It's not like it's like this guy could be good. Like, no, it's like we know he's good. It's just like, it's just a matter of like, I don't even think the package is going to be as big as people think, because I think he's literally neutered the Flames so badly. And I know everyone's like, oh, he's treating it so much better than Goudreau. Like, not really.
No, not really.
He is, but he.
Well, what did Eichel get traded for? I feel like that's the comparison I've seen.
I don't even think
Eichel still got traded for 4 players.
I don't even think it'll be that much because here's the thing. Like, he's pretty much saying like, I'm only if he's telling Tree Living like I'm only going to sign an extension in St. Louis, then like, what is he going to do? You know what I mean? It's like, is he going to? I can't imagine, because Eichel got what? They got Tuck, they got Krebs. They
got second or third too for that.
Right now, you're at Cairo. You're at Neighbors. Keep going.
Yeah, Cairo, and like maybe a pick. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they got a second or third round.
You still got it. Well, you still got to give up. You still got to give up $6.5 million.
That can be
right.
done elsewhere.
Cairo only makes 2.8.
2.5. Cairo makes 2.5.
Right.
I saw a guy on Twitter that I respect a lot with his opinions. Using he's pretty good with like the cap stuff, but he was saying like there's ways to offload Vladdy's contract, for example, if you were to like trade like the Islanders. I always see as like the Islanders or Devils. I can easily see a spot for Tarasenko.
Because last year there was almost a deal done between Lou and Doug, but the problem was the Islanders wanted the Blues to pay half his salary, and Doug is not going to go for that, and that was one of the
Doug
reasons
won't
they didn't
retain
go
any
further.
salary.
Doug does not like to retain salary. He doesn't like to buy out players. Those are two of Doug's pet peeves.
Would you lose on a trade for Vladimir Tarasenko if you win on a trade for Matthew?
Oh yeah, all day, because he's not going to come back probably.
You wouldn't lose a Tarasenko trade to win a Tkachuk trade.
Well, here's my issue. Here's my issue. Let's say that to get the 3-player deal that I saw, the 4-player deal that I saw, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping on, was Kyrou, Krug.
Oh, that thing was a 10-year-old on Instagram. I already chirped him like 5
Hold on.
I know it's a joke.
Let's say these are the players. Well, you look at the money wise, right? Kyrou and Krug.
Krug will never accept the trade.
Okay, and then you get rid of Tarasenko, right? Also to bring Tkachuk in. And let's say for Tarasenko, remember you need that money, so if you bring anybody in, they're $1 million or $2 million players.
Well,
You're willing to give up in those 3 players 200 points to get 100.
You wouldn't have to trade. That wouldn't make any sense, because if you traded Krug, hypothetically, with Krug, like he said, Krug will never go to Canada. If you Krug and Kyrou, that's like almost $9 million.
That's $9 million.
6, 7, 8.
It's 9.
Right about 9.
Kyrou makes 2.8, and then what's his face makes 6.5, and then like if you want to like whatever. But my whole point is, that was some like 10-year-old on Instagram. I literally said like, you have no sources, you just threw stuff at the wall and hope it stuck, and then he deleted my comment like 3 times. So but the thing is,
Nathan Myers has a question for us, and Josh, if you need to go,
no, you know what, we're don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, if you ever wanted me on your show, all you got to do is ask. All you and Thomas have to do is ask. Just remember, I'm 5 hours behind you.
It's just me.
It's just you now?
It's just me. I'm holding on the fort.
Thomas is hanging out with Leah now, doing her Twitch streams.
That's true.
Tommy, I didn't know you guys had a falling out, or are you guys separated?
No.
Okay.
No falling out. I love the guy.
Okay.
I love the guy. He is he's doing other things. He's still on Twitter. Check him out. He has great tweets. He was literally on my trending page today. I'm just doing the podcast solo now. No falling out. No nothing. I love Tommy.
Well, just remember, I'm 5 hours behind. So how does Calgary sell this? What can you get to salvage the situation and sell it to your fan base? None of the players that we're talking about on the St. Louis side can satisfy Calgary fans at this point.
Kyrou would, because he's Canadian, and he's a fastest skater, and he's got upside, like all this stuff, and he's flashy, and blah 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 blah. And like, let's be honest, they basically should just say Brad Tree Living screwed up the situation and then fired Tree Living after. I'm surprised they're even letting Tree Living handle this, to be honest with you, because like Goudreau should have been signed a year ago. That's the problem. Like they should have been like I'm not. And the thing is, they were for some reason like hem-hawing because they're like, oh, well, he had a bad year. Well, yeah, dude, it was a COVID year where like you're playing the same 7 teams in Canada all year long. It's like, I mean, big deal. Like, I don't know. I just think I think the Calgary thing is a mess.
Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you, from my time in Calgary, you give them something to cheer for. The fans will get over it pretty dang quick. They love their hockey up there.
Right.
I mean, when they're good, the seats are hard to find, and it's just a great place to watch hockey, and they love hockey. Give them hockey and a decent team on the ice, there won't be any problems.
Yeah.
You guys know where Jake Neighbors is from, right? I mean, like
he's from up there, right?
Yeah.
He's from Calgary, so that's a nice little piece. I mean, maybe they don't freak out as much as you guys do in St. Louis about your own players. I know you guys want
not me. I know
you guys want.
Well, I mean, didn't you when you were at Thanksgiving in the Lou? Didn't that come up? The Kachuk family. You didn't mention like how good it would be to have Matthew
didn't come
just
to here for Thanksgiving.
All right, my bad.
It was all COVID stuff, and we didn't.
True.
No,
but next year, if Matthew's only an hour drive from the meal instead of coming all the way down from Calgary, I'm assuming that'll be a benefit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, maybe Maddie comes to Boston. I don't see it happening, but it'd be nice, right?
Well, yeah. I think that's a big consideration in the deal.
Tyson, you brought up a good point. Right. And I got to tell you this, when the O'Reilly deal came out, there was only one piece of that I didn't like and that I still have issue with was Tage. I thought Tage Thompson should not have been part of that deal. And however, I say this, and I brought it up yesterday, Tage Thompson would have never gotten the opportunity in St. Louis that he got in Buffalo. So for him, that was the better thing. But I felt like we gave up on a very solid talent way too early.
Well, here's
why you get Ryan O'Reilly without Tage Thompson.
Yeah, but here's why they didn't mind shipping him out, knowing he could be a good goal scorer. He's terrible defensively. What was he, a minus 47 or 57 last year? That's why he was gone. They would have tried to give Buffalo somebody different, but I don't know if that would have worked. Just like he says. That was one of the first players that Buffalo asked for was Tage Thompson. So I don't think the Blues would have O'Reilly if they hadn't put Thompson in the deal.
They would not.
Yeah, probably not.
And there's a reason why Blues fans, including myself, were dancing around the streets when we saw the initial trade report. And at the time, we were expecting Kyrou and Thomas to be included in that deal, and neither of them were. As much as losing Tage Thompson stinks, he is not as good as Ryan O'Reilly was in that cup run. Few players will ever be as good as Ryan O'Reilly was.
No, I agree.
Run.
I agree.
You don't win a Stanley Cup without getting rid of Tage Thompson. And Tage Thompson also doesn't score 45 goals with the St. Louis Blues this year, or probably doesn't score 45 goals with any other team in the NHL other than the Buffalo Sabres. No knock on him. It's just, he was in a perfect situation. He's a great player, but you got to give up great players to get Ryan O'Reilly. And you know what? In 3 years, we might be saying, damn, yeah, Zach Bolduc, he just scored 25 goals and he's a great player. But hey, crap, Matthew Tkachuk, he's locked up for 8 years and just scored another 100 points with us. So that's
we haven't had a 100-point player in forever. I can't even remember the last 100-point player.
Pierre Turgeon?
Was it Turgeon?
Was it Turgeon? I remember him getting 100 points. I don't know if he was the last one.
Right. I mean, it's been that long.
It's been a while.
But at the same time, I also want the Blues to not think that they're the 90 Blues. Right. That this is a team that knows how to win a cup now. They're not trying to win a cup. They know how to win a cup. And that's what's important to me, that they keep doing the things that they need to do to win another cup.
All right, fellas. I think I'm gonna hop off for now. I appreciate the conversation.
Later,
Thank
Josh.
you for picking my brain. Good luck with the rest of the show.
No problem, Josh. Hey,
Yes,
Josh, anytime you want me to join you,
yeah, for sure.
more than welcome. Just remember, I'm 5 hours behind you.
Yes, sir. Anyone listening, check out Locked On Blues. Daily podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, live stream, all that fun stuff. Check us out. Appreciate you guys. It was a fun talking. I'll talk to you later.
No problem, Josh. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't expect him to stay a whole hour, man, but great.
You're good.
Have a good night.
See you guys.
Thank you, Josh. Hold on a second. I want to make sure everything's okay with Tyson. Make sure, or Tyler, make sure I didn't screw anything up.
I don't think you did.
I wanted to give Tyson more time to talk, but it was just, with 5 people, sometimes it's really hard.
It's hard
to get everybody in. I thought, last night was crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you got to watch the show later. I had 8 people on last night.
No, I didn't. I wasn't feeling good after that.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling, but I think I had Jake Wallman on last night.
Yeah.
At least I hope I had Jake Wallman on last night. So it was really good. And Ashley jumped in, and I was handling it as best as I could, just trying to keep everybody moving around. But it was really good.
If he got you the person to get on there, I'm sure it was Jake Wallman.
Yeah, you're right. What do you think of Malkin? This is from Matt Osborne. Look, Malkin's a great player, and I don't dislike Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is good, but Pittsburgh is holding on.
They're old.
Yeah, they're holding on to aged players, and they're gonna be Chicago next year. Or year after that.
Not only are they holding on, they're paying him very good money.
Yeah.
Letang is 36, and they gave him 6 years at $6.6 million. That's too much. Yeah, he was great this year. He was really great this year. But, maybe he's good for another 2 years. You're going to eat 4 years of that contract. And then Malkin in the last 3 or 4 years has been injured more in those last 3 or 4 years than he ever has in his career. I just think he's an injury away from not playing in the NHL. They've got $14.6 million tied up in those two guys. Malkin's 34, Letang's 36. I just don't think it was a good idea.
Let's see here. Let's go. Jeremy says, I wonder how good the Flyers will be during the 22-23 season, with John Tortorella is now the head coach for the Flyers. He's going to turn that franchise around. I just don't know how quick.
It's going to take him time, because the first thing he's going to do in camp is see who's his type of players, who will listen to him, who will put up with his stuff. Because some players in Philadelphia aren't going to put up with his style of play, and he's not going to put up with certain people's style of play. So I think if he does anything good, it'll be probably in the end of the second year, beginning of the third year. And hopefully they'll give him that long. I think he can make the team good. I just don't know if he's that guy to bring, real good success to him. It's still too much. 6.1 is still way too much for him.
And Letang 35, Malkin 36. Yeah, I still
That's all
agree.
semantic.
I'm with you there. No, I think, do you know what the key to Philadelphia is? The key to Philadelphia is so simple. It's not even funny. It's Carter Hart. Figure out, get Carter Hart, fix Carter Hart, fix that team.
Well, I'm going to tell you about Carter Hart, just like Bennington, just like any goalie, and Mr. E-Bug, our buddy there, would tell you, you can save games. You can win games for your team as a goalie. You can't do it all the time. You still need good defensive play from your defense. You need 2 pretty good lines, and you need some of your forwards to be very defensively responsible. Not great, just responsible. And I just think Carter Hart needs that to be successful. He can get you games. He's got that talent, but I don't think he's the kind of guy like a Grant Fuhrer that can play 50, 60 games plus and win you a cup. I just don't see him being that way.
Yeah. So Nathan, first of all, sorry it took us a while to get to your question. We just had so much to talk about it. It took me a while to find that hole to put it in there. So I want to try and get the guys' questions as much as I can. Kadri, it's simply this. He had 1 year, and he's not worth $10 million. He's not worth $9. He's not worth Kachuk money.
I wouldn't give him 7, which is what they said the Colorado wants to give him.
He wants way too much money, and not only that, teams know he is what he is, and they don't want to bring that into the locker room. Right? It's going to take a special locker room to have him, because he's going to tear a locker room apart. He's going to tear a locker room apart, and that's something that it's obvious, right? Matt, you say, do you think Pittsburgh to trade a goalie to get a better goalie? Problem is, no team is going to take a worse goalie and give up a better goalie. You've got to trade more than that to get a better goalie, and I think that Pittsburgh needs to reset, completely, and they just won't do it.
DeCasey, he's a decent goalie. I don't think he's great, but I really think they need a much better goalie. And Matt Murray's gone, and he's said bye-bye. But I do think Pittsburgh needs a goalie if they want to even think, and that's even sniff getting to the second or third round of the playoffs.
Oh, wow. Ashley, our statistician, the last player to get 100 points was Brett Hull in 92-93.
Yep.
Oh, my God. It's been a century. It's been a quarter of a century since we've had a 100-point player. Right? That just, that irks me that we haven't had that guy get that 100 points. I mean, we didn't get, you got to go all the way back to 80 to get 82 points before Tarasenko did it. You got to go all the way back to rest his soul, Pavel Dimitra.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was the last point per player guy, and that was in 03-04, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 02-03, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? VDAR says the numbers on Malkin and Letang are great cap hits, just the term is horrible, and that's coming from a Pens fan. Put Kadri and Marchand together and watch the team. They're on fail miserably. Yeah, I could see that. Yes, me and Lance had many disagreements on Twitter. However, something we can agree on is the Malkin and Letang contracts are going to bite the Penguins in the butt in about 2 years or so. Yeah, I think it might even be quicker than that.
I think Letang ain't going to drop off that quick. And Malkin, like you said, Malkin is going to score goals. I mean, because that's what he knows to do. Yeah. And I think they'll be fine for 2 years, but I think 3 years down the road, Penguins management is going to be regretting those contracts.
Jason says that's because the Blues play a team game. We don't need that one guy. Look at Edmonton going nowhere. And Jason wants to make sure that you're okay, Lance.
Actually, I got to go. I'm not doing well right now. I got to get going.
Okay, no problem. We're at an hour and 12. I can stick around for a little bit.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your kind words. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. We're always here for you, Lance. Always here for you, my friend.
I appreciate it, everybody. Have a good evening. And as Guy says, aloha.
Aloha, mahalo. And you got to know he's bleeding blue
with you. Jason's saying he's loving him. Ashley's got it in there. We do appreciate you. Good, great. Wow. Great show. Great couple of shows. And it's good, to get a new connection with another Blues person. Matt, I don't have enough knowledge, and I'm being honest, on Pittsburgh
to sit there and say
that I know who needs to be traded. Who they need to move. I'd have to do some research. And actually, I got to be careful because tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. my time, I have a podcast where I've got to come up with the top, the best Blues ever. Come up with two lines, two full teams, my number, first team and second team all-star Blues. A lot of it's pretty easy. Some of it's easy. Goalie's kind of hard. Defense isn't that hard. We've got the defense. VDR wants to answer Matt's question. And Marcus Patterson is who needs to be traded. There you go, VDR. Thank you. I love all you guys, man. You guys have really been sticking with me for long shows. And I mean, I've been going an hour and a half, 2 hours almost. And you guys stay there the whole time. I appreciate it. I love what you do. I love how you make me feel about what I do. So I say thank you from the bottom of my heart to each and every one of you. Ashley thinks Pittsburgh just finds a way to get younger, wrapped up in 3 aging players. I gotcha. Who's the best goalie? Best goalie where? In the league? Overall? I mean, that's kind of an open-ended question there, Matt. You got to give me a little more there. Clarify it a little bit. Right? Clarify it a little bit. Best goalie the Blues have ever had? I think people aren't going to like my answer, but I think it's Glenn Hall. Right? Even when they had Glenn Hall at his age, he was still the best goalie they think they've ever had. And then in the NHL right now, I got to go Vasilevsky. I think overall Vasilevsky is probably the best goalie in the league. I just for me, what he's done, and who he's done it for, the way he's done it,
I just think it's Vasilevsky. A close second. I guess a close, someone who I could tie in second would be, yes, Brodeur played for us, but his one game or 2 games, that's the thing that I'm doing tomorrow. I think there's a minimum. He said 5 years. I think it should be 3 years, but we're kind of working on that. Shigerskin, but he's still got to do it more than 1 year. I think he's got to be consistent, and Vasilevsky's the consistency's there, right? Facebook user says Vaz is the best. Think Andre in Tampa Bay, Igor in New York. Yeah, for me, Igor's got to do it a little bit more. I think that Marc-Andre Fleury and Hellebuyck are right behind him. Right? I mean, they just need some done. Yes, Cujo did play for the Blues. Yes, and for me, the second goalie, it's kind of hard. That's Lance. Okay. What is 9 a.m. your time here, guy? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. 2 in the afternoon. Right? For me, the second guy, it's kind of where I'm thinking Fuhr. I'm thinking Fuhr is second, though I'll get some arguments there. You also got to look at Liut. Liut's in there, Liut. I think Liut would be my God, that was one of my best interviews. That was one of the most fun interviews I've ever had. And he was another guy that off camera gave me a lot more info. I'm 5 hours behind you guys. I'm 5 hours behind you guys. Well, tomorrow's show is being recorded, so I don't know when they're going to put it out. Right? I will be on at 9 p.m. East Central Standard Time tomorrow night, like I always am, but I'm recording with Scott's podcast tomorrow morning. So it will not be in there. Fuhr had the 3 best years. Yeah, I can see that. But you got to hand it to, you got to give it to Glenn Hall for the Stanley Cups, and then the finals, getting to the finals, and then also, sorry, I dropped my ear. I figured out why I was having a buzzing in my ear. It was my hearing aids giving me the feedback. I wonder how Matt Murray will do during the 22-23 season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Leafs have good players, Mitch Marner, John Tavares. I'm sure so many Leaf fans are wanting Toronto to pass the first round in the playoffs. And since Murray is going to be playing for the Maple Leafs, did win the Stanley Cup 16 and 17 when he played for the... Yeah, Jeremy, that's not a bad thing. Lance says Hall, then Fuhr, then Joseph. I can see that with Liut maybe being right behind that, right? I think that Toronto does have an opportunity to be a much better team. I really do. I like what Toronto's doing. I am concerned about them having, half their salary cap tied up in 4 players, right? But they do have the opportunity, and if they got some decent defense, and that's what, Lance says, not enough defense in Toronto. Murray wasn't bad at all in Ottawa last season, but he just got injured at a bad time, and that's possible. But we'll see, and we'll see, guys. We'll see. So let's go where I'm thinking. So you got my goalie for the Blues. Defense. I need 4 defensemen. 2 of them are easy. Pronger and McGinnis. Right off the bat. Pronger and McGinnis. And then I got to go back to, You remember that article I wrote for the fan report when I was doing the fan report a while ago? The top 10 blues of all time, right? And I type in top 10 blues of all time and I get blues songs. Now let's see if this comes up a little better. See if I can find my article. It's the Bleacher Report one. I can't even find my article. I know it's out there. Oh well. But I got to look at that. I think that I think that I'd have to also put Bobby Plager on there. You know, you got to look at it more than just on ice. It's off ice too, right? Would you want William Nylander on the Blues? My trade offer would be Krug and a fourth maximum. I don't know about the money. I don't know about the money there, bud. Brett Hull was not a defenseman, Jeff. I'd have to look at, I don't know what Nylander's making, right? The money's got to work, and that's what's important. And to me, I'd want that fourth to have a provision to it. So he makes 6.5, so it's evened. Yeah, but I want that fourth round to have to be, you know, that if he makes, if Krug, you know, scores a certain amount of goals or plays a certain amount of games, that we get it back. Well, okay, those guys were on my top 10 Blues. Yes, they were. Let me see. Hold on a second. Let me try something else here. Give me a second. Yeah, you know, I don't get a what do you call it? I don't have a I don't have a producer, so I got to do this stuff all on my own. So, you know, I'm doing the best I can. So, stand by. Man, I still can't find this article. Why am I not being able to find my article? I know it's on here. Give me a second. I hit the wrong button again. Come on, guy. Why are you having so much trouble? Yeah, my article's not showing up here. Let me try one other thing. Give me a second. I can't remember all of them. I know I had a couple controversial ones in there. Let me see. Here it is. I found it. Yay! What makes a blue? My top 10 blues of all time. So let me open this article up so I can remember it. You guys still with me? You're not running away? Jeff says it's all good. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. So here we go. Here are my top 10, and I know some of them are going to be out there a little bit, right? That showed up. Okay, here we go. Now I got a whole bunch of all these article or ads. So honorable mentions. These were my honorable mentions. And I said that this could be an article in itself. The names I'm leaving off include Hall of Famers, All-Stars, Cornerstones, and greats that are on most lists. Some of them had a great time here. Grant Fuhr, sorry, buddy. I know what St. Louis means to you. Keith Kachuk and all that you did for the youth of the city. Chaser, Twist, Lowe, Jensen, Duke, and so many others that make this city their home are on the airwaves and at the games and alumni events. Pavel Dimitra, love this city and wanted so bad to bring a cup here. May you continue to rest in peace. The 1819 team, that cup run will always be special. So those were some of my Brian Suter, Tom Stillman. Those are some of my honorable mentions. So here are my top 10. My top 10 was the front office staff. A lot of them has been with the team for a very long time and have definitely helped make this team what it is. Number 9 was Bruce Affleck. Bruce Affleck, yes, he was, it's not just what he did as a player, it's what he's done for this organization afterwards, what he's done with the Alumni Association. In my mind, there was only one person that bled blue more than him. Number 8 was Adam Oates. Yes, I know a lot of people do not like Adam Oates and might be scratching their head, but to me, he is definitely one of those guys. Number 7 was Barclay Plager. Bark is the guy you think about early. He is the guy that definitely put the Blues on the map. Number 6, Barrett Jackman. The only guy to win the Cadler Cup for the Blues is Rookie of the Year. Met him once, really good guy. Chris Pronger, the only other guy to get the Hart Trophy. Number 4 was Al McGinnis. Number 3, Bernie Federko. Cannot forget number 24. Number 2 was Brett Hull. And my number 1 was Bobby Plager. Yes, I know that that's probably out there in some eyes, but you know what Bobby Plager did? I wish I could have heard more of it. I really do. I was not around. What a joke. What a joke. I love it. You know what? Great show tonight, guys. Great show. I got to prepare for tomorrow's show. We're almost up. Hey, you know what? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to put those, or on Facebook, don't forget to put those thumbs in the air. We used to get 10, 11, 12. Now we're getting 2 and 3. Don't forget to do that. And if you're doing it on YouTube, please, please, please put those fingers don't forget to subscribe to the show. We greatly love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for all you do. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, saying aloha, mahalo. And you got to know that I am bleeding blue with you. Aloha.